stop shaking the table.
Got you. Welcome to Nightly News. My name is Coach Davis, Kennedy High. This man is the owner of the Pioneer Football League, David Patterson. Tell us a little bit about your league, man.
Well, we are celebrating our 5th year in existence this year.
Okay.
We are a privately owned and operated program that goes from 6 years old all the way through high school, and we even do collegiate development, minor league football as well.
Okay.
So we were actually honored as one of the top 500 leagues in the nation, according to the National Football League. We were invited to the NFL Youth Conference in Indianapolis for the last 2 years, and we're growing from day to day and finding new ways to get our product out there and give the best possible experience for our players.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. What are some of the benefits that the kids get from playing in the Pioneer Football League from 6 all the way up?
Well, we have a dynamic, fully functioning website. We do a weekly Pioneer League Sports Center. We have a lot of our kids that are fully indoctrinated into our program, so to speak, outside of just football. So, for example, we have a 12-year-old news anchor that does a lot of our footage and what have you. We have a bunch of our older guys, like our collegiate age guys, that do management, coaching, different things in the front office or what have you. So they do a lot of things for us, and I think that's part of what makes it so special. We actually got a pretty large donation from the New York Jets last year, $150,000 as a donation to our program for helmets, shoulder pads. We got uniforms, the shirts that you even see what I have now, and just things like that just make our program really dynamic.
Okay, as far as the collegiate programs go, most times there are kids that go on to college, go on to universities and everything, but for the kid that is struggling, the kid that is trying to find his niche, he loves the game of football, but maybe he didn't have the grades, or maybe he had the grade but he didn't have the film. And, it's sort of like the NFL draft where there are a lot of gems that go undrafted. So it's kind of the same thing here where, there are a lot of non-blue chip guys that aren't big names that kind of came into their own later. How does the Pioneer League help them?
Well, we act as a support system for high schools. We're not a substitution for high schools. Football is something that in our tradition campaign this year, we're celebrating the role of football in young men's lives. And for some young men, the path to success that football takes a role in. Sometimes football gets enrolled in their life a little bit too late to keep them from making some of those life mistakes or road bumps or what have you. However, there needs to be a football entry point. So do you bomb on your grades so you can play in an outside league? No. If you have the grades and you're eligible, you should go and play for the Kennedy Knights. That's a given. For those that may have just been newly introduced to football and didn't realize the value and how it kind of is a catalyst for getting your life together and moving on the correct path, the PFL will get a little bit of experience under your belt to re-enter you into the natural path, which is youth football, which we offer from 6 years old all the way to that 14-year-old or what have you, and then high school football with a high school like Kennedy High School, and then once you get out of high school, onto hopefully college ball. And if you're not college ball material, because college football, you're only talking about on a Division I level, out of all the high school players that play, which is literally tens of thousands of guys that are playing high school ball, only 2% of them actually play Division I football. So you have a better chance of getting mauled by a bear, basically. However, again, so the majority are not playing Division I ball. So you have Division II, Division III, which also has academic standards. So if you are at that point working hard enough to get into a D2 school or D3 school, and that's a lot of guys that I come across do make that mistake, that they think that the only type of ball that they want to play is Division I ball. Not so. There's Division II and Division III where you can get an amazing education and at the same time compete. In fact, we had our first professional player that played in the Pioneer Football League. His college is not a Division I college. Jonathan Rio, who actually did our coin toss at our collegiate game yesterday actually. He played at first. He went to Bethany College, which is I think D2 or D3, and then he transferred to Lincoln University, both non D1 schools. He did academically excellent, graduated, got his degree, and now he's on his way to Sydney, Australia to play for the Sydney Express. So there's so many different ways that you can, essentially get
to your dream.
yeah, get to your dream, and it just comes in different, shapes, sizes, and colors, or what have you. It's not always Division One NFL. To get paid to play the game of football is an awesome thing. And while you're young and have that ability and don't have the family responsibilities, for some of our guys to kind of let loose and give it a shot is absolutely amazing. But you need to be able to do that with a degree behind your name.
Yes. Well, we have 27 Pioneer Football League kids in the building. How does Kennedy help your program as far as your collegiate program?
Kennedy helps Pioneer League in two ways. The first way is the entry point. For our youth programs, 6 years old all the way through to 14 years old, a lot of our programs that concentrate on youth football end at 14. So they don't even have a high school age, division or what have you within those particular teams. So Kennedy is a way to kind of bridge the gap between playing youth football and playing high school football. The coaches at Kennedy know the program that you're from, so they know how to get you from point A to point B. A lot of times if you get from youth program to high school and there's not a connection at all between the two programs, one, the coach doesn't really know how to, push the button, so to speak, and get the best out of that player. It's a learning curve or what have you. And in high school, you only have 4 short years. And, when you look at it, you play, 10 games a year or something like that? Football, again, it's such an amazing sport. And part of the reason why it's amazing is you don't get to put the uniform on that many times. You only get, the average person gets to suit up 40 times in their lifetime.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of make use of any time that you have. So to get into camp and to be invited to camp, and in order to go through camp and not have that learning curve where when somebody says, hey, we're running veer, or we're doing a 4-4 stack here, or a 4-2-5 or whatever, a lot of the kids that never had youth football experience will sit there and go, oh my goodness. Whereas our players, hey, look, the Steelers, for example, the Bronx Steelers, they run this. It's kind of like what the translation
it's easier to bridge the gap, right?
Much easier.
Because with the kids that we have some Steelers here, we have Colts here, we have some Fordham Falcons, some I don't know if I said Bronx Colts, but we have Bronx Colts. We have some Harlem Jets.
Green Wave?
We have some Green Wave. Yes, we have some Green Wave. We just got a guy from the Van Cortlandt Titans. So
there's a lot of great programs.
A lot of great programs. But just like in any other program, grades matter here, and you cannot come here and not pass your classes. If you want to play at the next level, if you want to move on, grades matter. But let's say there's a time in your life where you mess up. I've been there, we've all been there. You mess up at a certain portion. The PFL is an awesome route to take to get you back on track. Now, the old Kennedy was known for being rough, tough, and you might lose your wallet in the hallways. We aren't that way anymore. Now we have 2 charters and 3 Department of Education schools in here. We are a campus. With that being said, we have 4,000 children in here, 4,000 kids in here. Only 60 play football.
Wow. Well, I would say step one and one of the initiatives that is definitely on my list, and like last year I acted as commissioner. In the last 4 years, actually, I've been commissioner of my own league. This year, the ownership role is kind of going outside of the field of play. I have a lot of great people on board. Don Matos Harper, who is our commissioner, Rick Hernandez, who is our president. These are people that are handling the day-to-day operations. So I'm going to take it upon myself to take more of an effort to develop those outside of the game of football things. And again, the traditions of not just the game, but the traditions of, hey, the transitioning from, school to football and what have you. And some of those transitions include, again, this understanding that when you apply to high school, and if I teach middle school for a living, that's what pays my bills. So I see every single year wave after wave of kids that fill out these applications to high schools not really knowing much about the school. Um, we try the best to kind of bridge the gap as much as we can to give them an idea of what they're going to be looking at, but ultimately the school's reaching out like Kennedy does and understanding that the performance of the kids in middle school, wherever their starting point is, there's a school in the Kennedy campus that can cater to that. So if they struggle, there's a particular school that deals with that. I know when it comes to English language learners, there's a school in here that handles that. For our kids that like drama and like theater, there's something here for them or what have you. So those identities of the different schools is something that we'll do our best to promote as much as possible to get the kids to understand that you're not going to not just the old Kennedy, but you're not going to Kennedy.
Right.
You also have an identity with the particular schools that you're going.
Right. In our school, we have a New Visions Charter for Humanities. We have Advanced Math and Science. We have Bronx Theater. We have Law and Finance. We have Bronx Engineering and Technology. There's so many different areas of education here, and the one common denominator is football. So you can want to do anything you want, and then want to play football, and it all transfers to we are one team, one name, with the Kennedy Knights. So with the 27 kids that we have some big name Kennedy guys. I mean, not Kennedy guys, but PFL guys. Right. We have some big name Mario Agene. He was a Steeler guy. Isaiah Miller, Ramir Laney, Jamari Cruz, or Hunter, or whatever his name is these days, right? You never know. These guys have come into the program and have immediately put a stamp on it. Immediately. Being the pioneer owner, how does it feel knowing that these kids came from your league? They came into a high school that was changing from a high school to a campus. So we actually lost some kids. They came in, they stayed the course, they kept their grades up, and now going into their junior year, they are all competing for jobs and competing for starting jobs on the varsity. How, as the Pioneer Football League owner, do you feel?
Oh, that's a very good question. We've spent most of this particular offseason focusing on our kids that have transitioned on to colleges, and those colleges include Benedict College, Howard University. We have kids playing. These are the ones that are actually just playing on the field. Bethany College, a bunch of different two-year institutions, and even one that went to Central Michigan.
Yes.
So we've been so fixated on that and just kind of trying to keep track of those kids. Like our next wave is tracking where our youth guys have gone in terms of high school and making waves in respective high schools. And to tell you the truth, it's on them as well, because we try to connect with them as much as possible. And Facebook is a venue. Pioneer League's on Facebook. We try to connect and, hey, give us an update. Send us a picture of you in your high school uniform, and then we'll split screen it with you in your youth
Pioneer.
uniform. Exactly. And really, those guys are the one. Like we're never short on ideas on how to really get the players to promote the product, because ultimately I can sit here and tell you that what we do is absolutely amazing, and that's all well and good, but I'm the old guy in the room or what have you. It's another thing to have our 12-year-old anchorman David Hernandez interview these guys and get their stories. So as I'm sitting here and just kind of thinking out loud, we definitely need to start an initiative where we get these guys on camera and ask them about what their experience is and what they can do, somebody who's walking in their similar footsteps can do to make sure that their transition from youth to high school is seamless. And it's so funny that Jonathan Riho, our guy that's playing pro ball now, he spoke at our Patriots game yesterday, and part of his message is, hey, look, just a few years ago, I was in your exact position. I was playing on a team just like yours. And now, again, I'm getting paid to play football, which is an amazing, amazing thing. track back 4 years. Hey, look, just 2 years ago, I was a Bronx Steeler. I was, Bronx Colt. I was, on the Green Wave. And now I'm playing under the lights at Kennedy of this proud tradition, and I'm competing for a city championship year in and year out. Those type of things, again, is definitely high on my priority list. The football takes care of itself, Trap is trap, dive is dive, curl routes and all that other stuff. That's all well and good. But, I started this thing with, the motto behind it was, a vision, or we have, the light at the end of the tunnel, because there's so many different youth leagues out there that weren't really putting, the spotlight on these teams and all the great things that they do. The Bronx Colts take their kids to, Yankee Stadium for event after event.
Every event.
Yeah, Coach Free and Sean Kelman, who you played with.
Yes, good friend of mine.
Yeah, those guys do all, they provide, and it's so funny because they charge such little money, but they provide daycare that would rival,
right,
$1,500 a month daycare, systems and what have you, and provide summer camps, and they charge minimal amounts of money, and are out there volunteering their time. The Bronx Steelers. If you ever see this man, Sean Godbolt, if you ever see, where he lives, the boxes, of helmets, and anytime that there's somebody who might be shoulder pads. Hey, I need some shoulder pads. And the recruiting effort, he's feet to the street type of guy, and his heart and his passion's in this thing, and he literally can find a new football team every 3 to 4 weeks.
That's a fact.
So there's going to be more coming in, and the names will slightly change in terms of the programs that they're coming from as we expand. And with our expansion comes, again, the duty to let these kids know, hey, look, there's so many high schools where you're going to get lost in. Absolutely. Nobody knows who you are. Nobody knows your name. But ultimately, when you step into the doors at Kennedy, there's people that are going to know your name, and more importantly, if you act a fool or try to get off track or whatever, there's going to be people that get you back in line. There's going to be a Mike Davis that's going to sit there and say, hey, look, that's not the Buccaneer way. Fully well that's not what you're supposed to be doing. There's going to be, Coach Sterling that's going to say, hey, look, that's not what the Bronx Colts do. That's not what you guys are about. There's going to be a Coach Davis that's going to tell you, hey, that's not the Harlem Jet way. That's not what, the proclaimed best in New York City do. Yeah. So, again, we spotlight all these programs, and all of them are absolutely awesome programs. They compete on the field, but at the end of the day, they are all doing great things for these kids. But these kids have to understand that it's really them that's driving this thing. And the more that they put in terms of effort, and more excited that they get about it, the more excited that we're going to get about it. And things that we can do are going to be absolutely endless. And that's what drives this thing.
Okay, and not too many more with most of the teams now, most of the youth now, they're all into to jerseys. You want a jersey. They don't care about the coaching. They don't care about what's being taught. They don't care about any of that. So a little history on Kennedy. We are 2 years removed from the playoffs. The year before, we went 4-6. Last year we went 2-8. We struggled with recruiting inside of the building. We won the recruiting game outside the building, but inside the building we struggled with staying eligible, and this because the school had turned into a campus, and there was different grading systems throughout the building.
Gotcha.
So now we may have a guy that has a 70 and he's eligible to play by our standard,
right? But
by his school standard, he has to have a 75.
Gotcha. Okay.
You understand? So it's we now all work on the same playing level. We're on the same playing field. We all understand that 75 is the going rate. You come to Kennedy, you need a 75 to play football.
Well, what I usually say is, you shoot for the eagle, you bag the pheasant, you never eat crow.
Never eat crow.
So if you're shooting for the 75, you're doing yourself a disservice.
Right.
Again, the NCAA standards are raising every single year. They're up to 2.3 and almost damn near to 2.5.
Yeah.
So shoot for the 85. Try your best to get into your studies. And here's the funny thing: the system that you run it. Like football is not a stupid person's game. It is a thinking man's game. The intricacies, the detail that it takes to be a competent football player is above and beyond average intelligence. So if you are capable of understanding, the different formations, different looks, reading defenses, all that type of stuff, zone blocking, trap blocking, whatever it is that you're doing. If you're smart enough to develop that in your intellect, in your way of thinking, you can do it in the classroom as well.
Mm-hmm.
Learning is a process. And once you master the process, however it is that you learn it on the football field, just translate what you're doing in school
into regular life
and take the same process. Myself in high school, what really turned me around and got my grades in middle school, I did absolutely terrible. In high school, I ended up with a 3.0, and the reason why I was able to turn it around, and I was learning disabled. I was, literally, certified, card carrying, learning disabled, and I went from the what they called paced class to the accelerated class when I learned, hey, look, I can sit here and recite to you Joe Montana's, throwing percentage. I can calculate the ERA of any pitcher in the league, but I'm failing math class. That doesn't make any sense. So once I started thinking, hey, look, when I'm learning the Civil War, the generals are like the coaches. And, when I look down at the major battles, that's like the playoffs versus, the first quarter drive, second quarter drive, that type of thing. And once I organized it like I would a play sheet, the process of learning became so easy for me that, everything else kind of took off from there.
Okay. There was a report that had went out that said that we had dropped divisions. We had went from the city division to the cup division. That is not the case. We are still in the top division in the city. We did have a struggling season last year. Last year is last year. This year we are still in the top division, still competing for the city, and looking for more talent. Looking for more talent to come in next September. We're looking for more. We're looking for smarter players. But how can Kennedy and the PFL work together?
Oh, that's easy. First is the entry point for our youth programs, supplying them with the information that they need to give to their parents in order to. The biggest issue that students have when transitioning from 8th grade to 9th grade is being in a school that they really don't fit in, they don't like it.
Right.
So with the specialization part, and we all understand that you have to take math, you have to take science, or what have you. But if I don't like science and I'm going to a school that
advanced math and science
about science, they're going to be absolutely miserable. And again, having as much information as possible so that these kids that are in 8th grade can make an informed decision on what school to go to. Once they're 100% on board with the academics, and the transition academically is so much easier. Some kids are just slow starters when it comes to transitioning, new teachers, new setting, getting to school on time because they have to take buses and trains and what have you. All of that comes into play. So if you put all of that on the table before class even starts, it puts them in a position where you are more likely to be able to retain them to start. As far as an exit strategy for those Kennedy kids, whether they...
Like a Michael Merced, like a Tiandre Nichols, like a Tajay Montgomery.
Tajay Montgomery scored a 70-yard touchdown play for the New York Patriots yesterday, and we're definitely pushing him in terms of academics to get himself to where he needs to be, because ultimately the film that he's producing now and coupled with what he did at Kennedy will allow us to give him the supplements that he needs to get into a school.
So if there's a kid who cannot afford, he sent his tape to a prep school late. He sent his tape to Milford Academy too late. And he has 2 years of tape here but doesn't have a really good look from anybody right now. They can come into the Pioneer Football League, get another year of film, couple that with their high school tape, and then ship that out. And it'd be looked at as not sandlot football, but it'd be looked at as, hey, this guy has high school and competitive football.
Right. If you look at our film, and I'll post it right now while we're talking, we due to our relationship with the New York Jets, we're established, we're recognized, we're known. And when we send our film somewhere, they understand that what they're looking at is not sandlot football. We're also a pay-to-play organization.
Right.
So all of our teams are understood that you pay to play. So for example, to play on the New York Patriots, it's $150. Guys bring their own equipment or what have you. Reason why we do that is because we're not messing with anybody's academic eligibility, so the clock does not start. Similar to AAU ball in terms of basketball or what have you. So you get that season in. If you go to a junior college right off the bat and you're not really sure if you can compete, and most of all, you're not even sure if you're academic fit, or you may not even be able to get into it, the clock starts running on your eligibility. You play with the New York Patriots, you play with the Bronx Colts, you play with our collegiate programs in the Brooklyn Bobcats, the Brooklyn Pharaohs. Also, if you're on that side of the bridge or what have you, the clock doesn't run on you. So you get football behind you, you get a good season in, you get the film. When you look at the film, everybody's wearing the same helmets. Everybody's got the uniforms. They're playing on legit fields. We had a game at Franklin K. Lane High School. A couple of our teams played there yesterday. So when they see the venues, when they see what we're about, and they see the film, they're gonna be like, okay, that's legit. If they're seeing different color helmets and T-shirts and with numbers drawn on them, then
with tape across there, right?
Right.
Well, there's been we've had some students come in here and say, I'm not playing high school football because I'm playing for the New York so-and-sos, and they're sending me to the league, and I got an agent, and I'm telling you, I'm nice, and I'm a sophomore with a 32 average.
Really?
And
so football players that don't have a grip on reality, that's new.
Yeah, they don't have a grip on reality. They don't have a grip on themselves. And what do you tell the kid that says, I'm not going to play high school football, I'm going to play Pioneer League football forever?
Oh, that's a tough one.
Because I do understand that Pioneer is your league. I do understand that the draw is to get them in, but the draw also is to get them out into high school, get them out into school. And if you cannot finish, if you don't do too well in school, or if there's a certain situation that comes up, you can always come back.
Right.
We can help you get more tape.
You will genuinely get quality feedback over programs that we have versus the high school program.
Okay.
Kennedy is one of those schools that are on the list, and it's funny because you mentioned the whole city division versus Cup or Bowl division, or what have you. When you're talking about the top competition in New York City, you are better off competing there than you are in the Pioneer Football League. Granted, Pioneer League high school
Very competitive.
It's very
competitive.
It's very competitive. Very competitive. The most common path to college football is still high school football.
Why is that?
Because it's an established standard. We're still developing and
Yes.
in terms of the accreditation or what have you, getting our product to. And it's so funny. Let me just give you the short answer, which is we've aligned our high school program to mirror what PSAL is doing. We were originally 17 and under. We went to 18 and under because that's what high schools are. We play with PSAL rules, including PSL modifications, because we want our kids to have a genuine high school experience. But those are for the kids that go to high schools that don't have football.
So a school like Theodore Roosevelt over on Fordham, they don't have football. Those kids come, if they play all 4 years of high school, it's understandable because they don't even have a team in their school. So this is their high school experience.
Correct.
Copy.
So again, in our tradition campaign, we're dedicated to providing a high school experience for those kids. Now, understand, you are paying to have that experience. Here at Kennedy, they are not paying for that experience as part of the institution. And schools like Kennedy and the PSAL in itself have, one, the pockets to do things that the Pioneer programs just can't do. We do the best that we can, granted, bar none.
Bar none.
We
Very,
try.
very true.
However, it's much more effective if we can reach the kids that don't have the same opportunities to participate than a kid that goes to a school with football but just as turned off by it. And understand the reasons why not to play with your high school should not include you don't like the coach, you don't like the system that they run, you think you're too nice for them, or you don't have the academics to do it. Because ultimately, all of those things, like those things that are making you fail with the high school, are also going to make you
Fail in
fail.
life.
Well, not just that, but it will also make you fail in the Pioneer League team. You know, if you go to the Harlem Jets and your grades,
You may not like the coach. Your grades, they are very strict on grades.
And again, if the coach, if you're a discipline problem at high school, in your high school, you're also going to be a discipline problem on a Pioneer League team, and they will get rid of you. They will not. They're not going to tolerate nearly what, because ultimately, I mean, there's a little bit of consumerism to the fact that they're a student here. So the the coaches have to be
Be
relatively
a little
patient.
nicer. Yeah.
Pioneer League team, they're
You chose to play. Have a good day.
and it's their money that's on the line, and they're not being paid to be there. So they're going to have a lot less patience than you will.
Now, myself, I am three-time PFL champion. You know, as a coach, not a player. As a coach, from the Bronx Colts, I stepped over to Kennedy. I wanted to continue on in my coaching career. Two of my good friends are still over there coaching with the Bronx Colts. Coach gang, you heard. That's Sean Kelman and Charles Hutchinson. Right now we have Mike Davis from the Buccaneers. We have Coach Keith Sterling. He helped out with the Bronx Colts. We have the Colts and Buccaneers.
Charles Nelson.
We have Charles Nelson, who's over here, Bronx Colts. We are a pretty PFL heavy staff.
Yeah,
PFL high. We are a pretty PFL heavy staff, and the reason that we chose to go recruit from the PFL coaches and players was because of the standard that was set. I know of that standard. I was held to that standard. That standard helped create me. The coach that I am today. I'm very excited that the league is still going. You know, like a lot of leagues, they tend to hit a downfall where their name is still there, but they aren't producing the same caliber of people. I have not met a PFL coach or a player that I have come across that wasn't very knowledgeable and didn't know at least the basics. If you're looking for youth football in New York City, Pioneer Football League is the way to go. If you're looking for high school football in the Bronx, New York City, Kennedy High is the way to go. Do not look at our last 2 years. Look at our tradition. Look at who we are. Look at what we've done. We are a production-based business. I was taught that from a very, very good man. And sometimes in order to learn how to win, you have to lose. And in order to be gracious in your winning and not be cocky and boastful, you need to experience some loss. I think that this year coming in, 2016, very different year. We would love for you to pay attention, keep track of us, and follow along with Nightly News, man. I want to thank Mr. Patterson for coming along.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for the PFL for coming on. I'm going to practice, and I will see you guys later, man. Thank you.